Gadi Bossin didn't see Anna Yousefian again until a warm spring day in mid-May. That day in mid-May was a Saturday. He regretted having to spend the day in the library, but he needed to do some research, and he knew he'd have no other opportunity to do it in the coming days. He was deep into an article when a young woman's voice said, "Sir, you are Gadi Bossin? You are a TA in the English department?" "Yes, I am," he answered, without looking up. Then he realized the young woman was speaking with a foreign accent. Curious, he glanced up and saw it was the girl he'd pursued into the student union a month or so before. He was stunned by her nearness. "I am a foreign student. My English is not so good. Please, can you check my composition for me before I hand it in to my teacher?" Her accent in English was and wasn't like the accents of the Iranians who'd been in his class. He heard the lilt and rhythms of a French speaker. When she said his name, she said Geddy, pronouncing it the way the French would. He forced himself to play the disinterested TA and said, "Of course, just give me a few minutes. I'm in the middle of an article." She went to a nearby desk, took a book out of her briefcase, and began to read as soon as she was seated. Geddy pretended to continue to study his article, but he couldn't keep himself from looking over at her. He couldn't stop wondering how it was she found her way to him, wanted him to look at her composition. She'd come to him and called him by name. Yes, he nodded and smiled to himself. She came to me. She found me. 2 or 3 times when he looked over at her, she was looking back at him. Their eyes met, and they both looked away. He understood he couldn't concentrate on his reading any longer, and motioned for her to bring her composition to him. It was one of those assignments typical of freshman English classes, my most unforgettable character. In the years since he'd become a TA, he learned most freshman English compositions were not only disorganized and ungrammatical, they were uninspired. So, conditioned to expect the worst, but sensing this girl was someone special, he began to read the pages she handed him.